Now there's a battle taking place on the streets of London between, you've guessed it, the licensed cabbie and the ride-hailing app Uber. Transport for London is reportedly considering cracking down on Uber with a list of new regulations that would severely affect how the taxi app functions. Uber is on the defensive in a number of major cities across the world, from Paris to you name it, Los Angeles. Some argue the proposed restrictions protect the so-called black cab cartel, as they see it, and hurts consumers. And what place does the market play in any of this? We're joined now from College Green by the Conservative MP Robert Jenrick and Steve McNamara from the Licensed Taxi Association. Welcome to you both, gentlemen. Let me come to you first, Steve McNamara. I mean, if Uber is such a bad thing, why are millions of people now all over the world using it with relish?
Uber's not a bad thing. Uber's competition. We haven't got a problem with that. The reality is that these proposals from Transport for London have got nothing to do with competition, and we've had nothing to do with them. What they are, they're sensible proposals, 19 proposals. Let's go through some of them. The first one is that Uber cars have got to be insured. Uber have got a guaranteed insurance. Why don't Uber want that? One of the other things is you've got to submit a national insurance number so the DWP can keep track on you. Why don't Uber want that? A $40 billion company doesn't pay a penny tax in this country, domiciles itself in Holland, encourages its drivers to pay their money into foreign bank accounts, doesn't want any UK regulation. Everything on this list proposed by TfL is to do with safety and safety alone. And Uber consider safety an expense they don't want.
So what do you say to that, Mr. Jenrick?
Well, clearly hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people, not just in London, but in cities across the country, and Uber's about to come to my local city of Nottingham, enjoy using this service. So it should be about choice, and we shouldn't be anti-innovation or anti the consumer. I've not heard anything in this list of new regulations from TfL that are really going to help the consumer. I don't think that consumers should have to wait 5 minutes on a street corner when it's rainy or when it's dark for their Uber to arrive, or that you should be banned from sharing an Uber home from the office or from a night out. These all seem perfectly sensible things that clearly hundreds of thousands of people are enjoying using.
Okay, Mr. McNamara?
Criminal record checks on operations staff, having the vehicles to have insurance, knowing the driver, having the driver speak English, having the driver have a rough idea of where he's going, is nothing to do with competition. It's public safety, it's common sense.
Yeah, but surely all these things are covered by the law. You don't need Transport for London. Whether these drivers, I mean, you're claiming that a lot of them aren't paying British tax. I mean, we need to see the evidence of that. But if they're not paying British tax, the drivers I'm talking about, that's a job for HMRC, not a job for Transport for London.
No, it is, but what Transport for London are trying to do, they're trying to bring into control the chaos that we're seeing on London streets. Every weekend we're getting Uber cars driving up one-way streets, people driving on the wrong side of the road. TfL are seeing this. This is not pressure from us, this is pressure from the public.
Well, there's been plenty of pressure from you. Are you also trying to tell us that Uber cars are not insured?
Uber have been fined £10,000 for having no insurance. They've had recent Guardian journalists have uploaded Chinese menus to Uber's platform and been accepted as an insurance certificate. TfL have recently found further
instances. But that's illegal as well. I mean, if you haven't got insurance, you'll be done again, and that's not a job for Transport for London.
Of course it is.
That's a job for the police.
Transport for London. How can you say that a regulator isn't responsible for ensuring a minicab's insured?
No,
of
but
course they are.
No, what I'm saying is that if a minicab is not insured, and I understand the seriousness of that, that's illegal. The police should stop that.
No, the regulator has to set in place principles and practice that ensure the public safety, travelling public safety. What they've tried to do here, they're suggesting that Uber have fleet insurance, like many minicab operators do. Uber don't want it. We've seen this massive PR campaign, front pages on numerous pages, emails going out to their customers. You will lose your Uber. Absolute rubbish, absolute rubbish. All this will do is make Uber safe for the public. Uber don't want it. They want light control and be able to do what they want and have no responsibility for their actions.
All right. Mr. Jenrick, it surely must be unexceptional, indeed a demand, that if you're getting into an Uber, it is properly insured, and that it's the job of a regulator to make sure that fleets are properly insured.
I quite agree, and if Uber aren't paying tax, HMRC need to get onto them, investigate and make sure they pay appropriate taxes. But this sounds to me and to a lot of people in London and across the country like TfL stepping in to close down or put out of business a service that's just providing competition. Look, many people, myself included at times, will keep using black cabs. They're great. They're part of London's heritage. They help disabled people to get around. Drivers are knowledgeable. These things are excellent. We're not trying to close down black cabs. We're trying to give choice and competition. And if 1 million people in London alone are using this service, they deserve to be able to keep doing so because they're voting with their feet. And they enjoy using this service.
Mr. McNamara, quick final word.
And they will be able to continue using. This isn't going to close Uber down. This email that Uber are sending out to their customers, this massive lobbying campaign, is because they don't want to be regulated. They don't want to be insured. They don't want their drivers' national insurance numbers recorded. They don't want the public safety issues, which may cost them a few pounds. Public safety is not something that can be dismissed or fettered away. TfL, this mayor, who is no friend of the cab trade, has actually seen what's going on. He's getting complaints from his constituents, he's getting complaints from London councils, and he's acting. Don't believe this PR lobby and this massive billion-dollar company trying to change things in London. It's wrong.
You put your case very strongly, Mr. McNamara. I thank you for that. You mentioned our bicycle-loving mayor. Is it true that you called cyclists the ISIS of London, Mr. McNamara?
No, what happened was
what did you say, just briefly?
No.
You said something about the loonies out there in the cycling world. They're almost the sort of ISIS of London.
What happened? We were involved with this cycle superhighway as our networks were attacked by cyclists. We were trolled on the internet. We had hate mail. I mean, I've had death threats on the phone. And I referred to those people as the ISIS of the cycling world. I'm not referring to all cyclists, funny though it was.
All right. Well, I just wanted to clarify that because I'm a cyclist and I just want you to know that I have not beheaded anybody.
Good.
At least not so far anyway.
Good.
I thank you both for joining. It's a very interesting debate. This consultation period is going to go on for some time, so we'll hear a lot more of that. What's your view?
What a double act they are.
Very good. We'll have them again.
They're fantastic.
What's your view?
My view is I've opted out of this. I take the underground and the bus, and I don't need a taxi.
You'd never take a taxi at all?
I do, and I love a black cab, but what this is goes back to, I remember when I was an MP, the mini cabs versus the regulated cabs. It's the old issue. People find change very difficult to cope with, and Mr. McNamara and his friends are finding the change quite difficult to cope with. Basically, I'm on Uber's side.
Okay, right. When you're not on the tube.
When I'm not on the tube, which I'm mainly on the tube, I'm not on the bicycle, because people like you are on the streets on the bicycle.
Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't go near that either.
Oh,
I'm
my
not surprised.
goodness, to see you on a bicycle.
Anyway, shall we move on?
Move on, but the
No, don't.
minds are boggling now, the thought of you on the bicycle.
It's too early.
We'd like a still
the
of
day.
that.